What's up? I'm Wally, and I don't know what to do with my hands. Some real quick housekeeping before we get started. I wanted to let you guys know that I went back and reviewed a bunch of my other reviews, and I realized that a lot of them come off as me kind of saying the same thing over and over again. I was trying my absolute best not to spoil any of the movies that I reviewed, but that did come at the expense of making more engaging content. I'm going to have a little bit of a different format today. I'm going to get into the nitty gritty, into the details, into the spoilers. I will be sure to mark this with chapter markers in case you have not seen the movie yet, so that you can avoid any spoilers that I might discuss today. So that all being said, let's talk about 28 Years Later. 28 Years Later is the third movie in a series of zombie horror flicks. The first two being released almost 28 years ago. I was a huge fan of the first two films in the series, and 28 Weeks Later even became somewhat of a comfort movie for me as a younger person. 28 Years Later has been rumored for a really long time now. Been excited for it ever since these rumors started popping up. I'm really happy that they ended up bringing back Danny Boyle and Alex Garland to get this thing going. This is supposed to be a 3-movie trilogy. The first two have already been filmed, and they're hoping that the success of these movies will fund the third one in the series. Starting off with the no spoilers section here, I really enjoyed this film. A lot of people may not have the same experience as me. You kind of have to be a fan of Danny Boyle movies already. I'm a huge fan of Trainspotting as well as the sequel. This movie fit right in with Danny Boyle's other work, and I loved it. Alex Garland did an excellent job as well. There were some things here and there that didn't really make sense to me and maybe I thought could have been executed better. But as a whole, I believe this was a good story that had a pretty good script. I believe if you're a fan of zombie horror movies, you should absolutely check this one out. If you're a fan of the original two movies and are looking for them to rehash the same film a third time in a row, I think that you might actually not enjoy this as much. They absolutely take some risks with this film, and I believe they pay off, but the people that I went to see this movie with, not all of them agree. Moving on to the spoiler section of this video, I wanted to talk specifically about some of the performances that some of these actors gave. I believe the standout performance here was Alfie Williams playing Spike. I think as a character, he was the most fleshed out, and I really enjoyed his on-screen presence. His character was very timid and scared when he hit the mainland in the first 30 minutes of the movie. To see him grow into a more brave and self-sufficient young kid was really great, and I loved it. Jodie Comer was amazing in this film, as she is in everything else that she's in. I can imagine that this character that was created for her was not the easiest to play, but she still nailed it. I do wish they would have done a little bit more to attach me to her character. The first half of the movie, I feel like she was just kind of hidden away in that room, and it prevented me from becoming attached to her and her relationship with her son. Aaron Taylor Johnson was great in the first act. However, they kind of did the same thing where they hid him away for the second half of the movie. Now, I understand that Spike was mad at his dad because he hit him, and so it makes sense why he wasn't there the second half. However, I really wish they would have done more to just get the most out of these actors that I know they paid a lot of money to be in this film. Ralph Fiennes, I mean, what else can you say? This guy's amazing in every single role that he's ever played, from the smallest to the largest, and yet again, he nails his character and makes me feel his presence through the screen. Lastly, I do want to shout out Jack O'Connell. I saw him in Sinners, and his performance was incredible, and the small amount of screen time that he had in this film made me laugh so hard, and I'm so excited to see more of him in the follow-up film. Moving on to the story itself, I think that this is where a lot of people might start nitpicking. Again, we're not movie haters here. I do generally enjoy movies and don't want to try and nitpick and find stuff to hate on, but there are definitely some plot holes, right? There are some things that have made me kind of scratch my head and wonder why they made these decisions. Example, Isla waking up in the middle of the night to kill that zombie that was about to eat Spike. No explanation, no follow-up of any sort onto why she just turned into John Wick all of a sudden. There are moments like that kind of scattered throughout the story. Again, we could sit here all day and try and find things that are weird or don't make sense, or maybe some people might not like, but overall, I do think it was kind of similar to the original film, right? I mean, the original film kind of had some weird moments in it that don't make sense for a typical zombie horror genre film. And I think that's what's beautiful about it. I feel like Danny Boyle and Alex Garland took swings again, and there are a lot of people out there that are upset that they didn't rehash the first two movies and make it all over again. For me, I really appreciate the risks that they took, because if they just made another generic zombie movie, would it really be worth a discussion at all? Now, that's a good segue into some of the other points I want to talk about, which include things like the cinematography, right? The look of the film. If you don't notice now, I'm recording this on an iPhone 15 with an anamorphic lens on it, much like they did in the movie. If you've seen the first film, you know that it's got a certain look to it because it was shot on a Canon HL1, which is a standard definition mini DV camera, much like this one right here. What you're seeing now is from a Sony Handycam DCR TRV8. This is very similar to the camera that was used in 28 Days Later, and you can probably tell by the quality. If you've seen interviews with Danny Boyle about 28 Days Later, you know that the camera choice in that film was intentional and was meant to give them more freedom when shooting in and out of London. Some of the scenes that they shot where the streets are completely empty in some of London's more popular areas were only possible because of the decisions they made with the equipment they used. In more recent interviews with Danny Boyle, he kind of confirms the same with 28 Years Later. He specifically mentions wanting to leave less of a footprint on where they were filming. He talks about how some of these massive budget films use extremely large and cumbersome setups that prevent him from really executing on the vision that he has for the film. I really appreciate Danny Boyle's view on using technology to his advantage. And I think for this movie, he did kind of recreate the vibe that the first movie had when being shot on a mini DV camera like this. As for my final thoughts, I believe that this movie was really good. Now, some of you might think that that's a little crazy. If you're a fan of zombie movies, this one will be 50-50 for you guys. I feel like there's a lot of you that will like it, and there's a lot of you that will absolutely hate it. There are definitely some stylistic choices in this film that not everybody will agree with. However, if you saw the first two movies and you're kind of familiar with Danny Boyle and who he is as an artist, I think that you really can't miss this one. I gave this movie a 4.5 on Letterboxd. I know that there's going to be some of you guys that roll your eyes at that, but I'm such a big fan of Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, and I think that they really did the original two movies justice. I had so much fun with this film, and I'm really excited to watch it again once it drops on VOD. I know that my take might be controversial, but feel free to let me know your thoughts and argue with me in the comments.